Who wants a piece of this? Hold her steady. Now we're cooking.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
All right, I'm going.
Shut down.
Ever looked up to a yordle? The bigger they are, the harder I hit them. Who you calling little? Who wants a piece of this?
Outsmart your picky eater. Here for their I only want bunny crackers phase. Learn more about Grow.
A piece of this.
Audacious bravery shield!
Who wants a piece of this?
I've done about 6 impossible things today. So far.
What do these chefs have in common? They're all part of Cook Unity, the only meal service powered by
Audacious bravery shield!
All right, I'm...
Who you calling little?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
All right, I'm going.
Bendo City!
30 seconds until minions spawn.
I made the stars to illuminate the perpetual nothing. And mortals use them for relationship.
This is gonna be fun.
Worse than wizard prison.
Minions have spawned.
Now we're cooking. her steady. Revved up. You don't have to tell me twice. Come on! I'm not even holding the controls!
Weak posturing for someone soon to crumble.
Who wants a piece of this? Turbo on! Just needs a little kickstart there.
Such idiocy begs silence.
Ever look up to a yordle? Who you calling little?
Blood. An enemy has been slain.
Now we're cooking. All right, I'm going. Revved up. You don't have to tell me twice. Who wants a piece of this? Ever looked up to a yordle? Hold her steady. Who you calling little?
slain.
All right, I'm going. Revved up.
Expanding my item.
You don't have to tell me twice. Who wants a piece of this?
With starfire.
Ever look up to a yodel?
Shut down.
Who you calling little? All right, I'm going. Revved up. Now we're cooking. Who wants a piece of this?
An enemy has been slain.
Ever look up to a yodel?
Shut down.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Has been slain.
Who you calling little? Revved up. I'm going. Now we're cooking. Ever look up to a yordle? Who wants a piece of this?
An ally has been slain.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Turret plating will soon fall.
Who you calling little? All right, I'm going.
Killing spree.
The bigger they are, the harder I hit them.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Rampage.
Ever looked up to a yordle? Who wants a piece of this?
An enemy has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
Hold her steady.
An ally has been slain.
You don't have to tell me twice. Time for a Vandal City beatdown. Ready for round two.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Who you calling little?
Your team has destroyed a turret. Double kill. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Ever looked up to a yordle? This is gonna be bumpy.
One for the road!
Who wants a piece of this?
Enemy killing spree. Shut down. Enemy double kill. An enemy is unstoppable.
Revved up. Hold her steady. The bigger they are, the harder I hit them. You don't have to tell me twice. Who you calling little?
An enemy has been slain.
Now we're cooking. Who wants a piece of this? Ripped up.
Shut down. Shut down.
Hold her steady.
Ally has been slain. Ally has been slain.
All right, I'm going.
Ally has been slain.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Shut down. Enemy double kill. Ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed. Our inhibitor has been destroyed.
Now we're cooking. Who you calling little? Who wants a piece of this? Thought you'd never ask.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Shut down. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. Aced.
The sooner we kill them, the sooner
Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
Revved up.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Hold her steady.
Transformation complete.
All right, keep going. You don't have to tell me twice. Now we're cooking. Who you calling little? Who wants a piece of this?
Your inhibitor has respawned. An ally has been slain.
Ever looked up to a yordle? This is gonna be bumpy.
Transformation complete.
You don't have to know me twice. Revved up. Lady, don't fail me now. Now we're cooking. Who wants a piece of this?
Enemy has been slain.
Overstay.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. Your turret has been destroyed. Your inhibitor has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. Your inhibitor is respawning soon. An enemy has been slain.
The harder I hit 'em.
Your inhibitor has respawned. An enemy has been slain. Ally has been slain. An enemy is unstoppable. I adore. Your inhibitor has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed. Aced. Your turret has been destroyed.
Time for a Vandal City beatdown.
Defeat. disconnected. A summoner has disconnected.
Fiery spirit of the Euro Inferno!
Blue team double kill.
Zap action! Audacious bravery shield! When darkness closes in, drill right through it. Courageous Giga Guard! Galactic Hyper Barrier! Courageous Giga Guard! Audacious bravery shield! Turbo shock rockets!
Killing spree. Blue team double kill.
Profane sacrament.
Outsmart your picky eater. Here for their I only want bunny crackers phase. Learn more about Grow.
Audacious bravery shield! Galactic Hyper Barrier!
დავით კობაიძე, თქვენი აზრით
It's just blah.
In today's guide, I will teach you guys everything you need to know about Trundle all in one video. I will explain the best runes and builds, the best skill order and summoner spells, as well as combos and an educational gameplay where I explain the entire early game and so much more. Let's talk about the runes for Trundle first. The first rune page for Trundle is Lethal Tempo with Alacrity and Demolish with Bone Plating in the second tree. Trundle mainly uses Lethal Tempo because he's an absolute king at all-ins, and this will make him even stronger. In the second tree, I always highly recommend going Bone Plating versus melee matchups, and if you play versus ranged matchups, I highly recommend second wind page instead. Next, we also have Overgrowth instead of Demolish. If you think you won't be able to get turrets as easily, Overgrowth is a great alternative because this will allow you to scale and get much stronger in the mid game. Next, we also have Fleet instead of Lethal Tempo. If you think you won't be able to all in as much, Fleet is great because this will provide you sustain for survivability and it will give you access to much better positioning. As for the bonus stats, you should always take 1 point into attack speed, 1 point into adaptive, and another point into HP scaling. Let's talk about the builds for Trundle next. For the starter items, you always want to take a Dawn Shield versus ranged matchups, otherwise you always want to take a Dawn's Blade instead. For the boots, Steel Caps is used to counter heavy AD, Mercs is always used to counter heavy AP and CC, and Swiftness is always used to counter slows, and Berserker's Greaves is great for snowballing easy games. For the builds, Hydra Trinity Hullbreaker into Wit's End and Death's Dance is easily the best build for split pushing and proxying between turrets. If you think you'll mostly split push to win, this is the best build you can go for. The second build is Hydra Blade Hullbreaker into Trinity and Sterix Gauge. This build is used to counter tanks in the enemy team. Blade of Throne King allows you to 1v1 and shred every tank in the game, and the build itself is also extremely well balanced and works perfectly in teamfights. The third build is Hydra Trinity Hullbreaker into Death's Dance and Sterix Gauge. You want to take this build if you play versus heavy AD and when the enemy team has one or multiple assassins. The fourth build is Hydra Trinity Hullbreaker into Wit's End and Spirit Visage. This is the perfect build if you need to counter heavy AP on the enemy team. There's also a few extra items I did not mention yet. Frozen Heart, Thornmill, or Randuin's are all great to counter full AD enemy teams. Maw is a great alternative item for Sterix Gauge versus heavy AP, and Black Lever is an extra item used to counter very tanky enemy teams. I've also created an entire item set with all these builds in it, and I've shared it on my Discord server. Make sure to check out my Discord server after the video. And then use the ability first, then your W, and then your E. For the summoner spells, TP with Flash is the standard way to play. Ignite with Flash is only used for anti-heal and snowballing games in the early game. Ignite and Ghost is an alternative for snowballing, and you'll have a lot more mobility for chasing enemies. And TP with Ghost is an alternative for the standard playstyle. And again, you'll have much more mobility to create much better plays. Now let's talk about the combos for Trundle next. The first combo is the Auto Q combo. Even though Trundle doesn't really have any interesting combos, this combo specifically is still super important as it allows you to simply auto attack and then use the ability right after for more damage. The second combo is the Auto Q item combo. Again, this is the exact same combo, however this time we use the item after the auto attack and Q. The third combo is the W into auto attack Q item combo. This time we activate the W first and then we immediately start to fight after. The fourth combo is not actually a combo, but something that is extremely important. When chasing enemies, it's always important you hit your E as close to the wall whenever you can. This will completely block your opponent and it will force them to walk around the entire ability. This will slow them down completely and it will also allow you to have super easy all-in fights. Now with everything said, let's get into an educational Trundle gameplay, and I'll teach you guys exactly how to play the early mid game, also the late game, and so much more. Alright guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're once again playing some Trundle top lane. We've got the Yone matchup today, and for the runes we specifically got the Lethal Tempo page, we got Triumph, we got Alacrity, Last End, we got Demolish, and then most importantly we're also running second wind. So despite being in a melee matchup, we still have the second wind, and there's a reason why. It's because Yone technically can apply for the same reason for ranged matchups as well. Yone is going to consistently hit Qs from a certain range where you cannot reach. So if you have second wind, you'll pretty much always heal very consistently. Now this matchup is both all in. The Yone is running lethal tempo himself. We've got lethal tempo too. I would say that my all in is better than Yone's all in though. So we're going to try and focus on this. Specifically W even out. Let's go in. Cast a potion too. He's making a mistake going in here. I think he'll live. I was trying to get the extra auto attack in, so I took it very carefully to not like try and bait him to stay, but fortunately he managed to get out. It's okay though. An auto Q now would have been it for me. Now, when you paid really close attention to that fight, I know that the Yone is not running bone plating in the setup, so I already have a good all-in like straight off the start. Now, the reason why I decided to all-in right there was because he decided to cast W. He did like a like 50 damage on me or something like that, but he did lose the shield specifically. So if you lose that shield, for me, it's like a matter of just like pressing W, go in. I'm guaranteed to win the fight if I go in, if he casts that shield and having it a cooldown. Alright, wave is currently bouncing in my direction right now. This is very important to know. This means that we like two things, right? When the wave is like stacking up like really big, you kind of want to avoid fighting. Now, this is a moment where we could consider fighting because we've got Nunu topside. Oh, it seems like the jungle's also here, so it's 2 versus 2 actually. Okay. Might not be a good fight. Let me check what happens. So he has to back off. He will never win. He'll lose. I'll block him with my E, so he will survive. But yeah, something to keep in mind as well. Whenever the wave is like massive, just better to avoid the fight unless you're getting a gank. This might be it. Wow. He survived it? I'm gonna walk away. Seems like the owner's also here. They're blocking me from getting to my lane. It's a little bit worrying. I lost like a decent like amount of XP while this fight was going on. Use the Q on that. We got Nunu topside once more, so it's still 2 versus 2 because I think that the jungle might possibly still be here. But I'll try and set it up. Okay, I have to walk out of this time. There you go. You can go in if he wants. Nope. He's just to beat him himself. Good. I'm gonna be pinging for this one more time. Unless it's getting... okay, good. It's getting on our tower. I'll leave the lane it is. This is fine. So we've got a little bit of a complicated start, right? This
New Oreo Puff cereal. Milk's new best friend.
Whether you're a professional technician or simply take pride in maintaining your own cars, Harbor Freight...
Just a little bit. However, let's go into the AoE. It's a little bit of a complicated start because of the jungle being there as well, but we're still making it happen. Now, for the items, what we're going to do is we are going to build into Hydra this game. I'm going Hydra for a specific reason. If you go Hydra, you have sustain, you have ability haste, a lot of raw damage. This item is going to allow us to both 1v1 the Yone extremely hard with a risky build, and it's going to allow us to proxy between towers if we really want to. So we could, in theory, even avoid lane entirely if you really want to. Now you can also go Trinity as first item, for example. There's a lot of different variety of items you can go for as a first item. Hydra is a bit of a risky one. Very, very hard to snowball with. If you think that you're going to snowball the lane and you've got like a pretty good matchup to snowball, like Ravenous Hydra is solid. Just remember that the item does not give you like any form of HP. So don't really see where jungle is at the moment. He's actually on bot lane, okay. Yeah, the only annoying thing about the matchup really is that Yone, if played well, he can consistently stay at a certain amount of range, which will prevent you to all in at any moment. Which can be like really frustrating and annoying. And it seems like he's respecting me a lot more right now. Yeah, it seems like he's definitely playing from like a much bigger range than before. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, I'll make sure to auto the wave continuously right now to keep it within my advantage. Well, we are getting one for free. I'll take that. It's a bit of a risk because I don't know exactly where the jungle is. Might consider staying around because we've got New. Okay. I'm dead. Yeah. So what actually surprises me right now is that we've had New like taking the camp here. And at the same time, there was apparently a ward being placed down in the tri-bush when I was going from here to like here. Which really surprised me because I don't think I remember seeing Yone like actually placing a ward in that bush. That's really surprising to me. Quite impressed about it. I just missed it. My bad. Or like jungle must have placed it down or something. Don't know if Zed can like save the... Nah. Maybe he can get the jungle at least. Yeah. Okay, the good thing is that we've got back to the lane pretty much in time. So the Yone is still here. So I'm going to see if I can use that as an opportunity. Hopefully get some plates myself. I have no idea if he's still there. Yep, it seems like he is. If I take some tower damage, should be alright. This is the most annoying thing about the matchup by far. Yone is technically, you could just consider this champion to be a ranged champion. Pretty much based off like how he functions. So you don't really get to all in the Yone that often as you'd like. Like he really has to mess up entirely himself. Seems like we've got jungle here again. He is R again? That is rough. So I'm proxying the wave so I can proc my rune on tower. Hopefully, you know, if I were to get ganked, I could fight the Yone, but Yone didn't engage first. Also didn't go according to my plan. Wait. He can freeze it. If jungle decides to freeze the wave, then my lane's going to be saved. Because then I can just push out the lane again. I can just proxy the same like before. He should be... Okay, he definitely backported. Okay, once again, we're going to get a plate guaranteed. Yep. Another one guaranteed for me. Let's pick up the wave. And then we go here. I think in fact that could be a dive. Yep. Solid. Stay with ults. Okay. We'll take it.
Outsmart your picky eater. Here for their I only want bunny crackers phase. Learn more about Grow.
Has been slain.
I'm pinging top lane for my mid laner, although he's still like dead for like definitely like 15 seconds. I'll try and proc my wounds here now. I'm staying in mid lane because I can definitely get like 3 plates. Look how many plates I'm getting. Just making the decision to be here instead of top lane. So I don't think I could get the last one because jungle's here again. I've been getting jungles this game a lot. And I'd like to fight him like directly in a 1v1, but pretty tough to do. He's got the Trinity build already.
An enemy has been slain.
So it's better if we just avoid him. He's got apparently the blade build too. There you go. So even when he already has Blade of the Rune King, we have 2,500 gold. We still win the 1v1. It's because the reason why we win so hard is because he cast the E on the wave, basically. And that's the strongest ability from Yone at this stage. Look at this. Look how much gold we have. Look at the value. We got tower exactly at 14 minutes in the game, just right before it. Look how much gold we have right now. This is insane value, man. We get this. This is something you may not expect, but we're going to be going Berserker's Greaves, and then we go into Shimproc, and then we also go into Longsword and attack speed. Now, a reason why I'm going Berserker's Greaves is because I currently have Lethal Tempo. I got the Ravenous Hydra. I could, in theory, win like the entire game just going Steel Caps or Mercs. But I think with Berserker's Greaves, I can just go Trinity and just split push my way to victory with the attack speed and have a way higher chance at catching people. We'll see. This guy will never win. Because I've also got my support with me here. And my lead is too big because not only did I get the tower topside, I've got every single plate in top lane. I've got every single plate in mid lane as well. We got way more of everything against Yone. It's not the XP, but that doesn't matter. And I think that maybe I can also speedrun the entire tower really fast now. There you go. Look at this. This is the power of playing Channel. Nice. Do you see the strength of playing Chandel? This champ is insane, man. In terms of damage and stuff. This is the champ, the typical champ, like you win the early game, like just a tiny bit and you just take over the entire game. Typically what happens. I think that he's likely to push and try and get roses. He's trying to teleport away because that's like the only like real way to disengage there. He had no auto disengage anymore. So yeah, the biggest strength of Yone is pretty much done. Like Yone had the biggest chance to win in the early game, and that's pretty much it. If you don't stop me in the early game with those long range auto attacks or long range Qs, you're pretty much done. There's no coming back from it. We've got Chundi now. The next item we're going to be going for now is obviously going to be Hullbreaker. So we've got Ravenous Hydra for spell pushing and damage. We've got, and also sustain. We've got Trinity for machine procs. And, again, like more burst for spell pushing and everything. And Hullbreaker is the third item you go for. Let me see if I can help out. Oh man, we're gonna have a blast in this game. Let's see if I can push my lead just a bit more. We need to prioritize Dragon 100%. Let's quickly grab the camps, then we rotate. His disengage is the ultimate itself. Pretty much. Yeah, this is Dragon secured for sure. I'm gonna just camp this bush.
New Oreo Puff cereal. Milk's new best friend.
Millions of people are using this app to save and invest, and here's why. Because with the Acorns app, you can set up automatic investments on a daily, weekly, or monthly time frame. Start automatically investing today with the Acorns app.
No, he's dead. Nope. You want to know the best part of everything? Is that my teammates caught the dragon. So like Vayne was on the dragon. They didn't get it. And we get towers too. And we also get this one. And we get this one. And by the way, this is like all of the damage without even having Hullbreaker in my build. I don't have Hullbreaker at all currently. Just remember that, by the way. Wow, what's that damage? Oh, 1,100 from Vayne. Yeah, I got CC'd for too long. Okay. Next item we're going for, after the Ravenous Trinity and Hullbreaker, is like, it's now like a little bit more situational. We can decide multiple directions. So we can decide to go into Blade. For example, you go Blade if you're running into like a tanky comp. So if they have like a ton of tanks in their team, you go for this item. Now, they don't really have that. An alternative item you can go for is Wit's End. Again, like you gain like 50% attack speed, MR, tenacity. Again, really solid build for split pushing because you gain like a ton of attack speed. And then you can go into like into this stuff. I think probably what I'm gonna do is I'll build into Wit's End, because that provides me magic resist and also the tenacity. We'll go for bot lane. Okay, I need my teammates to group up right now. As much by themselves as possible, so I just win the game through split pushing the side. Let's see how far I can get here. So that's like 3 people in mid lane. Pretty good. I can see here for a while. I'm getting... Really? So the Vayne... I got CC'd for so long that Vayne literally jumped into me and still survived. That's a joke. That's why we go Wit's End. Because of the 20% tenacity. I could have like beaten the Vayne like way earlier, because we had the trinket onto that Vayne, so we knew exactly where she was going. But I thought that my teammate was gonna beat the Vayne, so I was going for Mel already. That's a mistake on my part. I should have just made sure I would, you know, get the Vayne down, because she's actually running Blade and also the Rage Blade. Super OP build, by the way. Okay, we need one more item, and I think for that last item, I'll very likely like build into this one for ability haste, so I can spam more Qs, but more importantly, I also get like a bit of armor and survivability, because we already have like a build that has a ton of damage, and going for this item will give me like slightly more survivability when I'm in a team fight. Also, the dragon is like 40 seconds and we should absolutely fight for it, but I think before we do, I'll quickly speedrun this thing here. And I don't know if they will notice that. I guess we're about to find out. You don't know how much attack speed I have, man. I've got maximum attack speed if Yumi's attached. I need to let my teammates know that the dragon is super important. I think that my teammates are too slow, so yeah, we lost dragon. Okay, I need my teammates to group, man. The team fights are really, really hard to beat because they have, like in general, they have a much stronger team fight because they have a Lulu and Vayne in one combo. So really hard to beat by myself. No one's here? I don't think that... Okay, so they're still here. Most importantly. I need my teammates to go Baron. That's it. So as long as my teammates don't do anything on this map, I will always be 1 versus 2 versus 4. Or 2 versus 5. And so it...
New Oreo Puff Cereal. Breakfast with an Oreo twist.
Whether you're a professional technician or simply take pride in maintaining your own cars, Harbor Freight offers quality auto tools to meet your every need at prices that can't be beat. Harbor Freight, your automotive destination.
It becomes a very you need a lot of patience.
The trolls are going to war.
Yeah, I can't do anything. I don't have any option. I need my teammates to do something. As long as they don't do anything, then I can't do anything.
Oh, they look angry.
Okay, 1 versus 9. Let's go. Okay. Well, it says Lulu, like, who cares, right? Who cares? Let's take the other one. Okay. I need the team to be on Baron. Let's buy this item. I can't ping anymore, I'm pinging too much. I am totally ready right now. I don't think they'll notice. I think we're too fast. Let's go. Yes, they will get the last dragon if they focus on it. If they try, then we'll just finish the game. So we just wait patiently now. And we need Zed to focus the Vayne. Okay, let's walk away. They can't really go dragon. They're forced to stay in the base. They have no choice. Yep, we've got that for free. And now it's just a matter of patience. That's pretty much it. There's nothing else we can do. Patience is key. Just gotta get that tower, that's it.
An ally has been slain.
Hopefully my teammates don't get caught too often. Maybe we will see Vayne around the corner. Yeah, Lulu and Vayne are too OP, man. I can't do anything about these two. Well, there's the ultimate. It's really a question how we are going to get that tower. Because my teammates are dead currently. We have no enough pressure. These guys are farming their way back. I need my teammates like on that tower, man. I can't have my teammates farming jungle camps. This is not it. Let's go for a potion. This is worrying, man. We can't have people like farming jungle camps at this stage. We have 2 inhibs down currently. It takes me a long time to spawn back. Okay, let's try again. Let's go. Yeah. The inhibs have respawned. That's like really worrying, man. I don't know where the guy went. Apparently he went here, but my E did not connect. Certainly like that didn't connect either. We've kind of lost pressure in other directions. If my AD carry follows the Lulu and we can get this one. We got Zed like farming top lane. So we cannot take inhibs yet.
New Oreo Puff Cereal. Breakfast with an Oreo twist.
An enemy has been slain.
I'm the troll with the plan.
Shut down.
You're in my kingdom now.
Enemy rampage. Has been slain. Enemy killing spree.
It's kind of unfortunate to be full built in moments like this. It's kind of unfortunate. I can't do anything. My teammates are farming everywhere. Like, we're not able to get an Ips. I think this is where we are going to struggle. Because they have a full scaling comp and we're not ending this game in a single way. They will get the dragon too now. We could still swap my boots around and get something else. The problem is that I need movement speed. And nah, I can't really swap it. I was thinking about it, but it's a terrible plan. I need movement speed for Vayne. really hope that Nunu can somehow still... Okay, they got 4 dragons now. We can't... We can't team fight at all because they have a full scaling comp, but the worst thing is that like we won't even be able to split push unless they focus on my team. Maybe my teammates could have chased them down right there so I can 1v2 in their base, but they didn't chase them down when I pinged them for it. So my idea was I pinged my teammates to go in here because if they force 3 people to stay in jungle, even if they die, it will allow me to get every single inhib, possibly even end the game. Because then I'll be basically 2 versus 2 with the Yuumi. I could probably end the entire game though. I'm just trying to find out ways to end this game because we've been full build for like 10 minutes now. I'm not able to do anything better. You guys are requesting Phantom Dancer as well. Like I've been thinking about that, but I'm basically maxed out on attack speed now, and I can't afford to lose the movement speed. I know that Phantom Dancer like provides more like percentage, but still the boots is the best choice. Maybe we can like magically catch them. Let's find out. It's the only hope I got left. Okay. There's not much else to say really about it, man. All I can say is I'm maxed out in build for super long into a scaling comp. There's no way to win team fights anymore. The game has not been closed out, so this is just going to happen over and over. I think that the game is over now. We could try it again one more time. Still got like 2 inhibs down. No proper E placement to find. So maybe if my teammates go mid, I can go to the side lanes, use that wave to end the game. They can cancel backboards. Yeah. Well, they already figured out where I am. Okay, I think it's over. There's no way we're getting their base anymore. The Nips will respawn. We have one final chance. If that dragon spawns... Okay. This is it. This is the best opportunity we could ever get. You have to go in. They have to go in. The Vayne is down. The most important carry is gone. It's off of this map. Cool. Actually, just forget about dragon. Just go end it. Let's get the potion. Zed does not really go and help the ADC. Okay. Does that backport it? This is not going to work that easily. They're waiting for the perfect time as well. Okay, it's over.
An ally has been slain.
100% over. It's 100% over, no doubt about it. Guess the final chance. Will I be able to speedrun their base before they speedrun ours? I don't know. Let's find out if we can. They don't even get to fight this guy anymore because they have every dragon. Man, this is so frustrating. We've been full build for 20 minutes and every time we could close out the game, we had no one to be there. It happens, you have games like this. But yeah. Either way, this is Channel Top Lane. Thank you so much for watching this channel video. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
You have to take your ego away and start listening. You don't have a plan for everyone.
This is the Angry Honey Badger here, and in today's
This isn't just a wallet, it's a rare find. There's something different about owning something almost nobody else has. That's why when Ridge dropped their limited Kintsugi collection...
Fellow travelers of Middle-earth, welcome back to our journey through the deeper mysteries of Tolkien's Legendarium. I'm your guide through these ancient tales, and today we're diving into one of the most haunting questions that Tolkien himself wrestled with until his final days. Picture this, the ring is destroyed, Barad-dûr crumbles into dust, and Sauron's essence is scattered to the winds. The free peoples celebrate their victory, but what about the countless orcs who served the Dark Lord? Did they simply vanish like smoke, or did something far more complex and troubling await them in the Fourth Age? Today, we're exploring 10 mind-bending premises about the fate of these creatures that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Middle-earth's darkest chapter. From theological dilemmas that kept Tolkien awake at night, to hidden threats that lingered in the Shire itself, we're about to uncover the apocalyptic consequences of Sauron's fall that few dare to discuss. So grab your lembas bread and settle in, because we're venturing into the shadows that Tolkien left deliberately unclear, armed with insights from his letters, unpublished notes, and the deepest corners of the Silmarillion. The first mystery that haunted Tolkien's mind was perhaps the most disturbing of all. In his letter 153, written to Peter Hastings in 1954, Tolkien confessed something that would shake any reader to their core. It remains therefore terribly possible there was an elvish strain in the orcs. Think about what this means for a moment. If orcs were indeed corrupted elves, as the Silmarillion suggests, then they possessed immortal souls bound to Arda until the end of time itself. This wasn't just a creative decision for Tolkien, it was a moral crisis that ate at his Catholic conscience. Every orc slain by Legolas's arrows, every creature cut down by Gimli's axe, every beast burned in the fires before the Black Gate represented not just an enemy defeated, but potentially an immortal soul denied redemption. The professor wrote extensively about this problem in his later years, admitting that the wholesale slaughter of orcs by the good characters created what he called a shadow of doubt over their heroism. But here's where it gets even more complex. After Sauron's fall, if these corrupted elves retained any spark of their original nature, what would happen to them? Would they remember fragments of their past lives in Valinor? Would the music of creation begin to heal them slowly, generation by generation? Tolkien never answered these questions definitively, but his letters reveal a man tormented by the implications of his own creation. The Valar themselves would face an unprecedented situation. Do you welcome back souls so twisted by millennia of corruption? The Silmarillion tells us that even Melkor was offered redemption once, so the precedent existed. But the practical reality of potentially millions of orc souls suddenly free from Sauron's domination would challenge the very foundations of the Undying Lands. Some scholars believe this is why Tolkien later shifted toward the mannish origin theory. It was simply too painful to contemplate the alternative. Consider the timeline here. We're talking about orcs created during the years of the trees, before the sun and moon even existed. That's potentially tens of thousands of years of accumulated corruption and evil acts. Yet if the soul remains immortal, as elvish souls are, then even the worst among them might theoretically be redeemed. This creates a paradox that Tolkien could never fully resolve, and it shows in his increasingly complex notes about orc origins. The theological implications extend beyond Middle-earth itself. If orcs have immortal souls, then their fate after death becomes crucial. Do they go to the halls of Mandos like other elves? Do they wait there for judgment? The Silmarillion mentions that some elves who performed great evil might be denied re-embodiment, but it never addresses the specific case of orcs. This uncertainty would haunt not just Tolkien, but any reader who truly grasps the full implications. What's most chilling is that Tolkien himself admitted in letter 153 that he cordially disliked the allegory of orcs representing any human race, but acknowledged that the moral implications of their treatment remained a severe problem. He was creating a mythology for England, yet found himself trapped by the very moral framework he'd established. The fate of orc souls after Sauron's fall wasn't just a plot point. It was a window into Tolkien's own spiritual struggles. In our next premise, we'll see how this theological uncertainty translates into practical consequences for Middle-earth itself, as scattered orc tribes face a world without their master's guiding, or perhaps we should say, corrupting, influence. When the towers of Barad-dûr came crashing down and Sauron's presence was finally extinguished from Middle-earth, something unprecedented happened to his orc armies. In the appendices to The Return of the King, Tolkien hints at what came next with a chilling phrase: "They scattered like wild beasts." But this wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning of a new and arguably more dangerous chapter for the free peoples of the Fourth Age. Picture the chaos in those first moments after the ring's destruction. Thousands upon thousands of orcs, uruks, and half-orcs suddenly found themselves without the telepathic network that had bound them to Sauron's will. The mouth of Sauron was gone, the Nazgûl were destroyed, and every orcish captain who had relied on orders from above was suddenly making decisions for the first time in their existence. What would creatures bred for absolute obedience do when faced with complete freedom? Tolkien's notes suggest they would revert to their most basic instincts, survival and tribal warfare. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. These weren't primitive savages. These were beings who had learned military tactics from the greatest dark strategist in Middle-earth's history. They knew how to forge weapons, build siege engines, and coordinate large-scale attacks. They had been organized into disciplined units for millennia. That knowledge didn't simply vanish when their master fell. The scattered tribes wouldn't just hide in caves and raid the occasional farm cart. Tolkien envisioned them establishing strongholds in the wild places of Middle-earth, the depths of Mirkwood, the abandoned ruins of Angmar, the desolate lands between Rohan and the Grey Mountains. Each tribe would be led by the strongest orc who could maintain control through fear and violence, creating dozens of petty kingdoms ruled by brutality and cunning. Think about the timeline here. The War of the Ring ended in March of 3019, but the appendices mention that King Elessar had to deal with enemies in the far places for years afterward. This wasn't just cleaning up a few stragglers. This was dealing with organized orc resistance that had learned to operate without central command. Some scholars believe these campaigns lasted well into the 3020s, making the immediate post-war period far more violent than most readers realize. The most disturbing aspect of the scattered tribes theory is how it explains certain details in the Red Book's final chapters. When Sam returns from the Grey Havens and helps rebuild the Shire, there are mentions of increased patrols and the need for watchers along the borders. Why would a peaceful Shire need such measures unless there were genuine threats in the wild? The answer becomes clear when you consider that orc tribes might have fled northward, settling in the abandoned areas beyond Bree. Tolkien also suggested that these tribes would remain dangerous for generations. Unlike their master, who was a spiritual being focused on domination, the scattered orcs would be driven by hunger, territorial disputes, and basic survival needs. This makes them unpredictable and, in some ways, more dangerous than when they served Sauron. A disciplined army has patterns you can predict and counter. Wild tribes striking at random times and places are much harder to defend against. The geographic implications are staggering when you really think about it. Every mountain range, every deep forest, every abandoned ruin across Middle-earth could potentially harbor orc survivors. The Misty Mountains alone contained countless tunnels and caverns where tribes could establish themselves. The remnants of Isengard's industrial knowledge might have been preserved by Saruman's Uruks, giving some tribes access to advanced metalworking and engineering techniques that would make them formidable opponents for decades to come. Deep in the heart of the Silmarillion lies perhaps the most profound mystery affecting the orcs' fate after Sauron's fall: the fundamental nature of creation itself. Tolkien established early in the Ainulindale that Melkor could not make, only mock and destroy. This creates a metaphysical puzzle that even the Valar might struggle to solve. If orcs are corruptions of existing creation rather than new beings entirely, what happens to them when the corrupting influence is suddenly removed? The music of the Ainur was described as an eternal force that would ultimately bring all things into harmony, even incorporating Melkor's discord into a greater theme. But here's the mind-bending question. Does this cosmic harmony have the power to reverse corruption that has been building for thousands of years? When Sauron's dominating will was finally broken, did it create a metaphysical vacuum that the original music could begin to fill? Tolkien's cosmology suggests that Eru Ilúvatar's ultimate plan encompasses even the darkest notes of Melkor's theme. Consider what this means for an orc born in the pits of Mordor who has never known anything but hatred and pain. If the music of creation is indeed working to restore harmony, then theoretically, over many generations, the corruption might begin to fade. Not quickly, not obviously, but like a slow tide washing away the debris of a storm. This isn't about individual redemption. It's about the fundamental nature of reality itself, gradually reasserting its original pattern. The timeline for such healing would be vast beyond human comprehension. We're talking about potentially thousands of years of gradual change, measured in tiny shifts across generations. An orc tribe might find that their children are slightly less aggressive.
Lowe's knows when you need a new appliance, you need it fast. So we offer delivery as soon as next day. We also offer installation and we'll haul away your old one. When you need it fast, we've got you covered. Shop Lowe's today. We help, you save.
When your kid is hurting, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the worst feeling in the world.
I don't think anybody ever expects to hear that their child has cancer. It's always one of those things that happens to somebody else, but it's definitely feels like your soul is sucked out of your body when they tell you that it's your baby. And you would do anything to get them to the best place that they can be for their treatment. And I knew with everything in my soul that that was St. Jude and that we had to get here. Everything about cancer is already so hard. I can't imagine how people do this without St. Jude.
My name is Hunter. I'm at St. Jude because I had osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma is a special cancer that's in the bone, so they had to amputate my leg.
You're looking at a hero. It takes a fighter. Good catch. You're looking at a hero in the fight.
My hero.
Here at St. Jude, you don't ever have to worry about how much treatment costs. You never get a bill, ever, for any of it.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive. St. Jude gives kids with cancer the chance they deserve. Help St. Jude give every child with cancer a chance.
Without the donors, St. Jude wouldn't be here.
Thank you so much. You have saved so many kids.
Let's cure childhood cancer together.
Their grandchildren capable of moments of something approaching mercy. Their great-grandchildren able to appreciate beauty in ways their ancestors never could. It would be evolution on a spiritual level, guided by the music that underlies all creation. But this healing process would face enormous obstacles. The corruption wasn't just surface deep. It had been bred into the very essence of what orcs had become. Their languages were twisted, their cultures built around violence and domination, their entire understanding of existence shaped by millennia of serving dark masters. Even if the music of creation began working on them immediately after Sauron's fall, the accumulated weight of generations of corruption wouldn't simply disappear overnight. There's another terrifying possibility hidden in this premise. What if the healing process actually made things worse in the short term? Imagine orcs suddenly experiencing emotions they'd never felt before. Grief for the violence they'd committed, longing for beauty they'd been taught to destroy, confusion as their fundamental nature began to shift. The psychological trauma of such a transformation could drive entire tribes into madness, making them even more dangerous than when they served Sauron. Tolkien himself seemed aware of this cosmic tension. In his letters, he wrote about the ultimate reconciliation of all things, but acknowledged that this process might take place on timescales that individual beings couldn't comprehend. The Fourth Age and beyond would see this great work unfolding, but the immediate aftermath of Sauron's fall would be chaos, as the natural order reasserted itself against thousands of years of accumulated corruption. The most profound implication is that the orc's fate becomes tied to the very purpose of Middle-earth itself. If the music of creation truly has the power to heal all wounds, then even the darkest of Melkor's works might eventually find redemption. But the cost of that healing, the generations of suffering, violence, and confusion as corrupted beings slowly find their way back to their original nature, would be almost unimaginable. The orcs after Sauron's fall wouldn't just be scattered tribes, they would be unwitting participants in a cosmic process of healing that even they couldn't understand. In his later years, Tolkien began to wrestle with an alternative that would fundamentally change how we understand the orcs' fate after Sauron's fall. Moving away from the problematic corrupted elves theory, he started exploring the possibility that orcs were actually twisted from men rather than elves. This shift wasn't just academic. It was Tolkien's attempt to solve the moral crisis that had been haunting him since the 1950s. But this mannish origin theory creates its own dark implications for what happened to orc populations in the Fourth Age. If orcs were indeed corrupted men, then they possessed mortal souls rather than immortal ones. This means they would age, sicken, and die like other mortal races. But here's where it gets chilling. Without Sauron's sustaining influence, their lifespans might have been even shorter than normal humans. The corruption that gave them their strength and ferocity could have been literally burning through their life force, keeping them alive through supernatural means that vanished the moment their master fell. Think about the biological implications. Orcs in Tolkien's world were described as breeding like flies in summer, producing vast numbers quickly. This rapid reproduction might have been necessary because their natural lifespan was incredibly brief. In Letter 144, Tolkien mentions that orcs were created to be disposable. When Sauron's power was maintaining their existence artificially, they could function as an endless army. But cut off from that source, their populations would face catastrophic collapse within just a few generations.
It's overwhelming, the smell that's coming off of you.
It's scientifically proven to drive females wild.
Human females?
The demographics become truly disturbing when you consider the numbers involved. Conservative estimates suggest hundreds of thousands of orcs served in Sauron's armies during the War of the Ring. If their average lifespan without supernatural sustenance was only 20 to 30 years, and their birth rates plummeted due to the chaos following their master's fall, Entire populations would simply age out of existence within a human lifetime. By 3050 of the Third Age, there might have been more orc graveyards than living tribes. But the mannish origin theory also suggests something even more unsettling: genetic memory. Unlike elves who remember across ages, or dwarves who maintain cultural continuity, corrupted men might retain fragments of their original human heritage buried deep in their consciousness. As Sauron's influence faded, some orcs might have experienced flashes of memory, distant echoes of what their ancestors had been before the corruption took hold. Imagine the psychological torment of gradually remembering your own humanity while trapped in a twisted form. This genetic breakdown would create a hierarchy of survival among the scattered tribes. Orcs with stronger original human stock might live longer and produce more viable offspring, while those more heavily corrupted would face rapid extinction. This would lead to a cruel form of natural selection where the least Orcish orcs would be the most likely to survive into the Fourth Age. Over time, their descendants might even begin to resemble their human ancestors more closely. The timeline for this population collapse would be brutal but relatively swift. Unlike the theological nightmare of immortal orc souls awaiting judgment, the mannish origin theory suggests a solution through simple mortality. Within 50 to 70 years of Sauron's fall, the vast majority of orc populations would have died natural deaths. The scattered tribes that King Elisar's forces hunted in the years after the war wouldn't be establishing permanent kingdoms. They would be fighting a losing battle against their own biology. Perhaps most tragically, this theory suggests that the orcs themselves might have sensed their doom. As their strength faded and their numbers dwindled, the surviving tribes would become increasingly desperate. Their raids on human settlements wouldn't just be about food or territory. They would be the death throes of a dying race, lashing out against the world that no longer had a place for them. The last orcs of Middle-earth would fade, not with the glory of a defeated enemy, but with the pathos of a species facing extinction through the very corruption that had once made them mighty. One of the most psychologically disturbing aspects of orc society that Tolkien established was their fundamental inability to function without absolute domination from above. In The Two Towers, we see glimpses of this when Sauron's attention turns elsewhere. Orc companies immediately begin fighting among themselves, questioning orders, and falling into chaos. But what would happen to creatures who had been bred for absolute submission when the ultimate source of that domination was suddenly and permanently removed? The answer reveals a dependency so complete that it would doom most orc populations to self-destruction. Tolkien was clear that orcs were not naturally organized creatures. In Letter 78, he describes them as beings who could only live and function when telepathically under the domination of the Dark Lord's will. Think about what this means on a practical level. For thousands of years, every major decision, every strategic choice, every conflict resolution among orcs had been ultimately decided by a superior will. They weren't just following orders, they were psychologically incapable of functioning as an independent society. The hierarchy in orc society wasn't based on wisdom, leadership ability, or even strength in the way we might understand it. It was based purely on proximity to Sauron's will and the ability to channel his domination down through the ranks. Orc captains weren't leaders in any meaningful sense. They were conduits for their master's telepathic control. When that control vanished, the entire social structure would collapse like a house of cards, leaving behind creatures with no framework for making collective decisions. Consider what happened in the immediate aftermath of the Ring's destruction. The orc armies at the Black Gate didn't just retreat. They fled in complete panic, attacking each other in their desperation to escape. This wasn't tactical withdrawal. It was the psychological breakdown of beings who had suddenly lost the only organizing principle their minds could comprehend. Without Sauron's will to guide them, they reverted to pure instinct, and that instinct was chaos. but the long-term implications are even more devastating. Orc societies had no traditions of governance, no cultural mechanisms for resolving disputes peacefully, no concept of law or justice beyond might makes right. Every attempt to establish order among the scattered tribes would devolve into violence, as different orcs tried to impose their will on others, but none possessed the overwhelming psychic dominance necessary to actually maintain control. They were creatures of submission, trying to become creatures of command, and failing catastrophically. The biological aspect makes this even worse. Tolkien suggested that orcs were bred to respond to domination at a fundamental level. It wasn't just psychological conditioning, but something built into their very nature. When that domination disappeared, they would experience something like withdrawal symptoms on a species-wide scale. Imagine entire tribes driven to madness by the sudden absence of the telepathic control that had defined their existence for millennia. This dependency would create a vicious cycle of self-destruction among the scattered tribes. Strong orcs would attempt to dominate weaker ones, but lacking Sauron's supernatural ability to enforce submission, they would face constant rebellion and challenge. Each conflict would weaken the tribe, making them vulnerable to external threats and internal fractures. The very traits that had made them effective servants of the Dark Lord, aggression, suspicion, and the inability to compromise, would become the instruments of their own destruction. The psychological profile becomes even more disturbing when you consider that some orcs might actually seek out new sources of domination. Rather than learning to function independently, surviving tribes might desperately search for anyone or anything that could provide the telepathic control they craved. This could lead to orcs attempting to serve other dark powers, corrupt wizards, or even powerful human warlords who might partially fulfill their need for absolute submission. They wouldn't be seeking freedom, they would be seeking new chains. The ultimate tragedy of the domination dependency is that it represents the most complete form of corruption imaginable. Melkor and Sauron hadn't just twisted the orcs' bodies or corrupted their souls. They had destroyed their capacity for self-determination itself. Even if individual orcs could have been redeemed, their societies were built on a foundation so fundamentally flawed that they couldn't survive the removal of their master's influence. They were victims of their own conditioning, doomed to destroy themselves through the very obedience that had once made them valuable to the Dark Lord. When we look for clues about what might have happened to orc leadership after Sauron's fall, Tolkien provides us with a fascinating precedent in the fate of human servants of the Dark Lord. The mouth of Sauron, described in The Return of the King as a living man who had entered the service of the Dark Tower, represents the highest level of human collaboration with evil in Middle-earth. His uncertain fate, we never learn if he died in the battle or escaped into the chaos, provides a template for understanding how intelligent orc leaders might have responded to their master's destruction. The mouth of Sauron was no ordinary servant. He was described as having forgotten his own name after centuries of service, becoming so completely identified with his role that his personal identity had dissolved into his function. This psychological transformation mirrors what must have happened to the most intelligent orc captains and chieftains over the millennia of their service. They would have developed a sense of identity and purpose entirely tied to their place in Sauron's hierarchy, making their master's fall not just a military defeat, but an existential crisis. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike common orcs who were bred for simple obedience, these higher-ranking individuals would have possessed enough intelligence and independence to potentially survive the transition. They understood strategy, logistics, and political manipulation. They had observed Sauron's methods of control and domination firsthand. In the chaotic aftermath of the Dark Lord's fall, these orc chieftains might have attempted to carve out their own kingdoms in Mordor's ruins, using the techniques they had learned from the ultimate master of tyranny. The geographic advantages would have been substantial. Mordor after Sauron's fall was a devastated wasteland that few would want to enter, let alone claim. The surviving Orc leaders would have intimate knowledge of hidden strongholds, secret passages, and defensive positions throughout the Black Land. More importantly, they would understand the infrastructure, where the weapons were stored, how the supply lines operated, which fortresses could be quickly reoccupied and defended. Think about the organizational challenge these Orc leaders would face.
About these heists? We Ocean's 11 or The Sopranos?
What's the difference?
I'm only doing this because I have to. Not because I'm a bad person.
You're joking, right? Everyone you're talking about is a criminal, including you.
No, I'm not. I'm an engineer. What I'm building is
Important?
iconic.
Look, anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do some questionable things to get it done. Before my hood, I was a nobody. But with it, maybe a little unsavory, but yeah, I'm unstoppable.
Ready for spritzes and sunshine? See what's trending near you on Wayfair, like outdoor seating from 100, outdoor bar carts from 100, and outdoor shade from 50. Find options for every style, delivered free and easy. Shop all things outdoor at wayfair.com.
They would be dealing with thousands of leaderless orcs, goblins, and other creatures who had suddenly lost all direction and purpose. A sufficiently cunning orc captain could potentially gather these scattered forces under his banner, offering them the structure and direction they desperately craved. It wouldn't be loyalty in any noble sense. It would be practical necessity meeting psychological need. The precedent of human servants suggests that these Orc kingdoms would be pale shadows of Sauron's empire, but they could still pose significant threats to the recovering lands of Gondor and Rohan. We know from the appendices that Aragorn as King Elisar spent years dealing with enemies in far places. These weren't just random Orc tribes. They were likely organized resistance movements led by former captains who understood both military tactics and the value of strategic patience. The most chilling aspect of this premise is how these Orc leaders might have interpreted Sauron's teachings. Without their master's moderating influence, and yes, even Sauron's tyranny was moderate compared to pure chaos, they might have become even more brutal and unpredictable. They had learned that power came through fear and domination, but they lacked the supernatural abilities and vast knowledge that had made Sauron's rule relatively stable. Their attempts at dominion would be crude, violent, and ultimately self-defeating. The timeline for these petty Orc kingdoms would likely be measured in decades rather than centuries. Without Sauron's unifying presence and supernatural power to maintain order, each kingdom would face internal rebellions, external attacks, and the gradual degradation of resources. But for 20 or 30 years after the War of the Ring, Middle-earth would have faced the genuine threat of Orc warlords attempting to rebuild their master's empire on a smaller scale. The victory at the Black Gate was just the beginning of a longer, more complex struggle to truly cleanse the shadow from Middle-earth. The peaceful ending of The Lord of the Rings, with its focus on the Shire's recovery and Sam's growing family, deliberately obscures one of the most unsettling implications of the Orcs' fate after Sauron's fall. A careful reading of the appendices reveals subtle but disturbing changes to the Shire's defenses in the years following the War of the Ring. The establishment of a more organized watch, increased patrols along the borders, and references to troubles in the wild suggest that even the most protected corner of Middle-earth wasn't immune to the consequences of scattered orc populations. Consider the geography and what it tells us about orc escape routes. When Sauron's armies collapsed at the Black Gate and throughout Mordor, not every orc fled eastward into the wastelands. The most intelligent and adaptable
7.5 million U.S. businesses, from restaurants to mechanic shops to real estate firms, use TikTok to reasonable. What would you tell him to do?
I would tell him to have Pam Bondi walk down the hallway at Main Justice to the Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, and pull all files related to the November 2020 OPR report that evaluated Jeffrey Epstein's 2008 plea deal. In the process of that OPR investigation, they interviewed everyone at Justice who was involved in that 2008 plea deal, Jeffrey Epstein, and sought to put the story to bed by collecting transcribed interviews, audio, and basically reams of files. The report itself took 9 months to produce. It's 348 pages long, but it leaves out the critical information that's necessary for both the public and the current Justice Department to understand the Epstein issue. In particular, they interviewed Alex Acosta, the main Justice Department official who gave Jeffrey Epstein the sweetheart plea deal, about Epstein's intelligence ties. They have a one-line summary for that conversation buried in a footnote on footnote 244. Pull that transcript from DOJ, OPR, and Alex Acosta and make that transcript public so we know exactly what the Justice Department asked about Epstein's intelligence ties and exactly what Acosta, who cut the plea deal, said.
Okay, so let me just repeat that. So this was an OPR, Office of what again?
Professional Responsibility.
Professional Responsibility internal report on Jeffrey Epstein. Is that correct?
Well, they produced it for the public. This was so. Here's the history of this. The second indictment for Jeffrey Epstein happened after I believe it was the Miami Herald published a kind of blockbuster series in 2018 about the contents of the secret plea deal that the Justice Department cut. The fact that it had been offered before the Justice Department even reviewed key evidence, that victims were not included in the talks about the plea deal, that it had been hijacked from the FBI, had been stopped from pursuing prosecution. That creates a big scandal. And in February 2019, the Justice Department announces that it's going to be conducting this basically, special review, this Office of Professional Responsibility review of the Epstein plea deal in response to the giant outrage over the Miami Herald series. Now, 5 months later, Jeffrey Epstein in July 2019 gets arrested on July 6, 2019. 3 days later, Vicky Ward publishes an article saying Alex Acosta said that Jeffrey Epstein belonged to intelligence, and that's why he cut him the plea deal. He was told to back off.
So here's my question. So are you saying that there are transcripts that could get released that were the underlying supportive material of this OPR report?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So you want the raw data underneath the OPR report, essentially. That's the thrust of your focus. If the president was asking, hey, what do I do?
Yes, because the meta question that hangs over this whole thing is it true? Did he get the plea deal because he, quote, belonged to intelligence? And if that's true, that's the question that just has to be answered, or at least has to be attempted to be answered, because that's really the great speculation that you can't answer fully without some sort of confirmation, or at least boxes being checked. Now, in that process, by the way, Charlie, OPR works with the CIA Office of General Counsel. The Office of General Counsel is who coordinates with the Justice Department OPR whenever there's anything sensitive or relating to classified or confidential information. Oftentimes, the DOJ and CIA will work together on on any sort of classified element. And I would like to know, for example, I think the public has a right to know in the production of this November 2020 report, because it's so strange the way it's put together. It was supposed to put the intelligence issue to bed, and they buried it in one line on page 169 and footnote 244.
Let's dive into that. So this is a big part of this. So the question is, was Jeffrey Epstein an intelligence asset? And some people are saying that he was an intelligence asset of Mossad. I do have to read this, and I want your response. This is from Naftali Bennett, former Israeli prime minister. He says yesterday, quote, "As former Israeli prime minister, with the Mossad having reported directly to me, I can say with you 100% certainty, quote, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. Epstein's conduct, both the criminal and merely despicable, had nothing whatsoever to do with Mossad or the State of Israel. Epstein never worked for the Mossad. This accusation is a lie being peddled by," he mentions Tucker Carlson by name, who's a friend of mine, but he does mention him, "and they just make things up, say with confidence and lies, this is vicious, lies, we will not take it anymore." It's a pretty strong, and this is on X, that is a pretty strong, let's say, response. So, rebuttal. Do you believe that, Mike? Pretty strong denial. Do you believe that, or number one? Number two, could Jeffrey Epstein been MI6, Central Intelligence, Saudi intelligence? Mike Benz.
When I hear that, I hear the same sort of carefully worded statement that I hear from the CIA side. I don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein, his intelligence aspects were primarily around blackmail. I've never been really interested in the blackmail side of this. He was a financier.
For most of us, payday is essential. It's how we put food on the table, gas in the car, and a roof over our heads. But something's off. It's called wage theft, and it happens every day. There's no pay stub. The deposit is missing. Your final paycheck's going to be late.
At the Oklahoma Department of Labor, we're here to help. No matter your job or your background, you have every right to be paid for the work you've done. Protect your pay.
He was a financial fixer. The CIA, I can name 10 examples of the CIA using.
What do you mean a financial fixer? Because obviously he didn't make his money. I mean, he didn't earn it through trades or by market brilliance. So what do you mean by that?
Think about figures like Mark Rich and Bruce Rappaport. These are people who work with U.S. intelligence as well as Israeli intelligence, as well as intelligence agencies across the Five Eyes and across the sort of old Safari Club from the 70s and 80s. These are figures who have access to huge amounts of capital. And when the CIA wants to do something, but off books in terms of transaction, or the State Department wants a pipeline done in the Middle East, but they need security, they need guarantees from or buy-in from a couple of different governments or arms brokers. I mean, this is like the Adnan Khashoggi story, for example, right? Adnan Khashoggi, Jeffrey Epstein personally bragged that Adnan Khashoggi was one of his top clients in 1987. Well, what was Adnan Khashoggi doing in 1987? Adnan Khashoggi was the middleman between the U.S. and Israel on Iran-Contra. It was Adnan Khashoggi, when he flew to the White House, Adnan Khashoggi was a Saudi, the biggest arms dealer in world history. He made 3 times more as a commissions agent for Lockheed Martin than every other arms broker combined, 3 times more.
So let me just interrupt you. Sorry, Mike. This is breaking news. This is 334. President Trump was asked about Jeffrey Epstein, saying that anything that is credible should be released. It's funny, we said the same thing yesterday, just moments ago. Play cut 334.
On Epstein, of the review of the file, Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing. And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
That's the end of the kicker here, and it's a little so Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt because that was very important. We're going to go long here, by the way, so we're going to be able to cover this from all dimensions. So based on your original point, that OPR Office of General Counsel transcript would be credible, right, and then potentially could be released. So that would fit within what you're talking about here, Mike Benz.
Exactly. Hard forensic evidence. I also believe that on the CIA side, you're not looking for blackmail. Look, I'm not saying blackmail didn't happen. I don't know if it did or didn't, but I don't see the evidence that it did. And it wouldn't be Epstein himself who would be doing it, because then you lose all the access and you lose all the deal brokering if you have a reputation as a blackmailer. The fact is what the CIA needs first and foremost is money. Jeffrey Epstein's career started at the time of the creation of a private CIA in the CIA. He started his career at Bear Stearns under Ace Greenberg in 1976. He was there until 1980. That's the exact period under Jimmy Carter when the CIA got destroyed in the budget, got all these handcuffs placed on it. In 1979, Iran fell. And this is what set off a whole private CIA operation through Iran-Contra and the Iran-Iraq War between 1980 and 1988. And it was this exact network of financiers, primarily around U.S., Israel, but also UK, France, and Saudi, and their interests in having to deal with Iran. And so you have these financial fixers. Like, let's just stick with this Khashoggi story for a second.
Yeah, you got 30 seconds. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah. It was Khashoggi. When Khashoggi flew to the White House in 1983 to meet with Ronald Reagan's national security advisor to pitch the idea of arms to Iran to sell the proceeds to Nicaragua, that was the whole plan was how do you do that despite an arms embargo, the fact that it's illegal. So what they did is they used Israel as a middleman to sell the arms and then achieve the goals in Nicaragua. But this was a U.S. intelligence operation that needed covert financing through Adnan Khashoggi, Jeffrey Epstein client, in order to sell arms to Iran to basically have a proxy war in Nicaragua. What I'm saying is this is the sort of thing that you need for covert action. You need covert financing. Jeffrey Epstein, everyone who talks to him.
But then where do you think is the source of the money then?
Well, I think the source of the money are the folks in different aspects of the finance world who are principally.
One of my biggest dreams was to road trip Europe in a van, and I actually attempted it 2 years ago, but I was mentally in a very difficult place. There's a bunch of reasons why I'm in a better place now, but one of the biggest is my therapist, who I unfortunately cannot name. It was actually a friend, Simon, who recommended therapy after I survived a near-death explosion. Unfortunately, I ghosted my first therapist. Luckily, BetterHelp lets you switch therapists very easily. You fill out a quick survey, and they match you with someone in their huge network. I prefer video calls because it feels like there's more of a connection, but if you don't want a video call, you can always just do a regular call, and if that's a little overwhelming, you can even just text back and forth. I never thought I'd do therapy because my family doesn't really believe in mental health, but the thought process that changed my mind was that people don't go to the gym just because they're really out of shape. People go to the gym to maintain good shape. So for therapy, I don't just go because I was struggling with my mental health, but I continue to still use therapy because I'm trying to maintain good mental health.
Happy birthday, Box. Give me something good, baby. Come on, Box. It's your birthday. That means I should get something good, right?
A few moments later.
Oh, yeah! Let's go! I'll take the counter spell. Absolutely.
who have access to the pools of money that Epstein brokers.
So basically, your theory is he helped intelligence agencies by providing funds to people they wanted to give to indirectly. He was a money man. Is that, and the sex stuff was a sideshow because he was a creep, pervert, evil person. Is that right?
Yeah, not even thinking about the sex stuff. That's not what would be in the intelligence files. What I believe you would find if you looked for it would be the different financial transactions, the private financial. So the role would not be as an asset. And this is why I say I don't like when I hear the phrase intelligence asset, and whenever I hear Pam Bondi being asked about it or Alex Acosta being asked about intelligence asset, I think, well, that's a limited hangout. You know what you're asking there. You know that's not the question. There is not going to be a human 201 file on Jeffrey Epstein. There never is for financial fixers. I did a study recently of 10 financial fixers that the CIA used for various covert financing.
Name
for covert
one
action.
high-profile one that people would know.
Bruce Rappaport, Mark Rich. As I just said, I mean, I have a list on me if you want me to go through some of the names.
Fine, yeah. So the intelligence financial fixer, someone who is given a pool of money and distributes it upon command.
No. They're not given a pool of money. They have access to money. Let me give you an example. Okay, in 1951, declassified CIA records show the head of research and analysis for the CIA sending a letter to the head of the CIA saying, next time you talk to the Ford Foundation, ask them if they can provide financing to the following universities. Now, this is because the CIA doesn't have enough money in the budget to fund 30 different universities. They want financing for research done at universities on Sovietology, on what's going on in Africa or Asia. They don't have the money for it. They can't get it through Congress, but they have friends of the station. And so they will speak with outside groups, or they'll speak with foundations or hedge fund managers to arrange financing that is not on the CIA's books, and that will accomplish the goal. It's the same thing with Epstein. Epstein I don't think is moving CIA money. The CIA has a goal, for example, in the Middle East. They want a pipeline constructed, or they want some initiative to go through, but it requires juicing the deal by getting buy-in from folks in Saudi Arabia, folks in Egypt, folks in France. Somebody has to put that deal together and be responsible for the deal in case it goes wrong. Let's use a specific example. I mentioned a couple names like Bruce Rappaport, Mark Rich, and the like. So Bruce Rappaport, there's a scandal that folks would do well to look back at today, and that was the pipeline scandal in the 1980s that involved Ronald Reagan's Attorney General during the attempted construction of a pipeline through Iraq. Now, this was that the Iraq was pipeline was to be built by basically the Bechtel Halliburton network, a U.S. company, but there was a lot of tensions because of the Iran-Iraq war, and so the U.S. government wanted this pipeline done. The CIA wanted this pipeline done. They believed that it would advance U.S. interest to do so, but they wanted to make sure that Israel did not attack the pipeline because of its proximity to the conflict zone. So what they did is they engaged Bruce Rappaport, a outside, highly controversial financier, Swiss-Israeli, who was also basically a very close friend of William Casey, the CIA director. They were golfing buddies. They were close friends. They met very frequently, and Bruce Rappaport played the role of not only providing the financing but ensuring that there would be security guarantees because he was very close with friends in the Israeli government. Now, what happened there was there ended up being a special prosecutor investigation into the Attorney General of the United States because of this scandal, because they argued that there was kind of a pay-to-play aspect going on with this. And they argued that there were bribes, but what Bruce Rappaport ended up saying later was, no. There were no bribes. According to this secret deal, the Israeli government was actually going to get a 30%.
Wayfair presents Storage. Let's get organized. Closet clutter keeping you down? Conquer the chaos with closet systems from just $80. Spend less on shoe storage so you can spend more on shoes. And shop bathroom storage that looks great and stores it all with fast and free shipping straight to your door. Getting organized and saving money? Score. Shop storage for way less at Wayfair.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your turret has been destroyed.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
An enemy has been slain.
Equity stake in it, so nobody actually got paid. But the fact is, at that point, you need to coordinate 4 different Middle East governments, as well as U.S. and U.S. contractor interests in this. So this is what I believe the girls are in the Epstein story. Girls juice deals. When you are having to coordinate with all these sort of Saudi sheikhs and high net worth individuals, and you're doing business, you're doing deals, and being around young women for parties and things like that is a way to create an environment where people like hanging out with you and want to do deals with you, because these deals last for years. They want to be around. They may think they can only get access to the deals, if
so
they.
So you think that the girls were a means to the money was not a means to the girls?
I think the girls were a way primarily of juicing deals. You're more likely to do business with someone who provides you a currency you can't get elsewhere. You have these 60, 70-year-old dudes who can't meet, an 18-year-old, girl at a bar anymore. Where do you meet them? Well, you meet them at Jeffrey Epstein's place. Hey, if I do this deal with Jeffrey Epstein, he can supply me with girls. So even though this pipeline might not be in my interest, even if I really don't care about the petroleum market in Kenya, even if I really don't want to sell guns to Antigua, I know if I do this deal, then I had a great time at that last party. I'd like to be included at the next one. And so, that is a very plausible. I'm not saying definitively that's what's happening. That's what happened here. But that explains it, in my view, without even having to go, much farther than that. Because here's the thing. You don't have 201 files. You don't have these. An intelligence asset is someone who is formally recruited. And there needs to be counterintelligence done on that. It's a process. There's a vast field beyond asset, and it's called cooperative contact, or facilitator, or liaison. And these are the brokers, because you need these brokers, these fall guy type figures. Look at Bill Burns, for example. As I mentioned, all of these, whether you're talking about Mark Rich, whether you're talking about Adnan Khashoggi, whether you're talking about Bruce Rappaport, they're all personal friends of the Central Intelligence Agency, while maintaining close ties with both Israeli intelligence as well as several other partners across the Middle East and Western Europe. But what I'm getting at here with the Bill Burns case is, Bill Burns, the CIA director, came out earlier this year, met 3 times with Jeffrey Epstein in 2014, including 2 times at Jeffrey Epstein's house. Now, remember, Bill Burns spent his whole year in the U.S. State Department, 35 years there, and ended up not only as Deputy Secretary of State, but as Undersecretary for Political Affairs. That's the number 3 spot. That's the CIA spot. According to the JFK files, the Arthur Schlesinger memo said that 48% of all political affairs folks at State were actually not at State. They were CIA under diplomatic cover of political affairs. That's the division Bill Burns ran before he became Deputy Secretary of State, and then on to becoming the head of the CIA in 2021. But from 2014 to 2021, Bill Burns goes private. He leaves running the CIA wing of the State Department, to be the head of the Carnegie Endowment, one of the biggest, most influential, and oldest think tanks in the United States, who is frequently used as a back channel for shadow diplomacy. Now, that 2014, the very year, the first meeting that Bill Burns had with Jeffrey Epstein was while he was at the State Department. The next two he had in 2014 were while he was the head of the Carnegie Endowment. What he is doing there is he is going to Epstein's financial network behind Epstein to see what those donors want to do about funding the Carnegie Endowment, and what kind of deals, what kind of things they can do at Carnegie that the donors will give money for. That's why everybody goes to Epstein. That's why they go there for the money. That's why Bill Gates said he went to for Epstein, because of the money. That's what Bill Burns will go there for, because of the money. That's what the CIA will go there for, because of the money. We want this thing arranged. And the other thing is Jeffrey Epstein's his specialty was in sheltering these things in complicated offshore debt structurings in order to hide them from regulators, in order to hide them from asset and collectors and creditors. And so he moved this whole thing through a complex Byzantine web of offshore bank accounts and Cayman Island bank accounts while brokering the deals. So that way the CIA, Israeli intelligence, Saudi intelligence, everyone gets to be hands off, but he's not formally recruited, I don't believe.
Got it.
By,
so, no, that not formally recruited by, I'm sorry.
Yes, but you're not going to have a 201 file. You're not going to have an asset file. But what you will be able to find, I believe, is if you look at the transactions. For example, you look at all the trace requests done for requests of Epstein's name at CIA. You go to the Office of General Counsel, and for example, like what's actionable right now is, did the Office of General Counsel, the Central Intelligence Agency, have any input whatsoever in Alex Acosta's interview with Justice Department about Epstein's intelligence ties? What was the traffic between the head of OPR and Bill Barr, as well as Jeffrey Rosen, the Deputy Attorney General? Did they try to block an investigation into the intelligence ties in 2008? Is any of that shown in the 2020 November? I just don't think that Pam Bondi's even looked. I don't think that they even knew to look there for leads. And as well as everything that the CIA liaison at Justice, as well as the Office of General Counsel of CIA, interfered in or gave input to about the 2020 OPR report. Because my suspicion is that you may see some very squirrely things around the CIA Office of General Counsel and the November 2020 OPR report. Justice Department should review that and tell us the contents of what they find. And then from there, you want to go to the CIA's financial division. You want to look at the special economic activities, to look at all the transactions Epstein was involved in, to see what financial interlocutors, what cooperative contacts were pulled in the finance space to put those deals together where Epstein was working. And I note among them the Clinton Foundation. It was Epstein who put together, who is credited with coming up with the idea of the Clinton Global Initiative, which was a swirling hodgepodge from the Secretary of State of foreign mercenaries and oligarchs and Ukrainian oligarchs and Viktor Pinchuk and that whole network, all funneling money into this nonprofit for it to do various activities around the world that might help their own interests. All of this can be matched with CIA files in the special economic activities.
So just to... Explain it above. So would it be fair to say that Epstein was a deep state fixer, moving money around to accomplish aims which benefited elite institutions and deep state intelligence goals? Is that a fair summary?
Yes, but I would add part-time. And this is the important part of it, as I see the case, is that he's a contact. He's someone they can go to on a among other potential folks in the space. He is a friend of the station. He is someone who is there if they need it done. But I don't think that he's not talking to them every day. He's not.
I got
it's
it.
a
So
periodic thing. Yes.
I'll add to it. So it'd be fair to say that Epstein was a part-time deep state fixer, moving money around to accomplish aims which benefited elite institutions and deep state goals. So now let's go to the let me just go to, you want to chime in really quick?
The one thing I'd say is, there are deep state things, and you can make a weird argument that if you agree with the underlying foreign policy, that this is not unusual. I don't think you even need to go so far as to say deep state, even though obviously there are many deep state things about it. I mean, this is just how business is done at CIA. He was a financial fixer who could get access to money for covert operations, as well as structure them in a way that would conceal the source of those funds, which is something that we used all throughout the Cold War. When Jeffrey Epstein started doing this in the 1980s, we were in the middle of the Cold War. Is it possible that much of this type of activity is responsible for? I mean, we did this. We had financial fixers that we used to fund money of the Solidarity movement in Poland, which operated in a very similar way in order to fund that union movement. And that's dirty work. It's money laundering. It's using these set-up-to-fail debt instrument banks to do it. We gave it to the Solidarity Union group in Poland, but that's how we kicked the Soviet Union out of Poland and brought it into the Western world. So it's a complicated analysis, but that does not excuse. You have to tell us if it's there. You have to look yourself first, and unless we pressure them to say, hey, here's the exact file we know you have. Okay, here's the exact search terms. Here's exactly what you should tell the Office of General Counsel at the Central Intelligence Agency. Then I think that because there is a there, they're not going to want to do it if we don't give them specific asks.
Okay, so this is helpful to kind of hear your theory of the case. To push back on this, though, there were reports that there were lots of cameras of these underage girls on the island or in the facility in New Mexico. Do you think that it might have been soft, unspoken blackmail, meaning some of these guys might be more willing to do the deals because they might realize down the road that Jeffrey might have something on them, and that even though he could or couldn't, but it could be a little bit of a sword of Damocles over the head of some of these guys? Your thoughts, Mike Benz?
It's very possible. Like I said, I've been saying for years that I don't think Epstein would be the person doing the blackmail, because the whole purpose of being a financial fixer is getting everyone in your network to love you and having such a good time together, and you offering them experiences they can't get anywhere else, so that they'll sign a multi-million or billion-dollar, financing. You sort of spoil the party when you start blackmailing them. But to the extent that he's working with intelligence services who have access to the information that he's collecting, that in theory could be used for blackmail.
That's a good point. Yeah, so I mean, over a period of time, let's say they have one blowout, disgusting, pedophilic retreat, and they know they're being blackmailed, wouldn't that just be like a hard stop, like don't get near Jeffrey type thing? That never happened, right?
Well, that's the problem, is like, they give it to some intelligence agency, the supposed blackmail, and then the intelligence agency, someone says, we know that you were at Jeffrey Epstein's house in November 2011 with a 13-year-old girl, and then it's like, okay, well, that guy's blown forever, and so is everyone that he talks to. That person's not going to sign a $10 million financing deal. That person's not going to, invest in this Latin American operation or this North African, pipeline deal. That you can only get that if it was on Jeffrey Epstein's security cameras. Oh crap! Epstein was recording me. I'm going to, tell my friends, my very powerful friends, don't be around Jeffrey Epstein. He's actually setting us up for blackmail the whole time. Now, that doesn't mean that it wasn't covertly collected and used as, for whatever purposes it might be used for. But, there were so many, Charlie, there were thousands of people over 40 years. Epstein started doing this in the 1980s. There's not a single person in all that time who's publicly come forward and said, I was blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. You could write, if one story like that would sell $5 million in book sales, and nobody's done it. That's not to say that it's impossible, but you have a much, much more
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control, with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our hit different is mods, giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
relevant and trackable issue here, which was the role as a financier. How do you always hear Epstein described? Disgraced financier. The whole thing was the money. The CIA's main job is finding money for its operations. They need to go through fixers, and this is the guy who's tied to the head of the CIA, the head of almost every major figure in Israeli intelligence, the head of every major arms broker in Saudi Arabia, the friends with most of the royal family in the UK, Spain, Egypt. This is the guy who does not know much about finance, but he can arrange the deals because he's got powerful friends behind him who are putting up the money, and he makes his own money through commissions in the 1980s and 90s serving these clients.
And he's a fixer, but he also he was a schmoozer. People liked being around him. He held big parties, and he was a hyper social person. So he found a loophole in society, intelligence community funding, to get really rich, and he was just kind of like a super disgusting pervert, on the side, or as just as an element of that. For example, I bet that when he would have these parties, not every single one of the girls was 14 years old, but he definitely had, and this is well documented, he had a fascination. He liked them young, is what people would say, 13, 14, 15 years old. So then let me ask you a question then. Mike, if you were granted an opportunity, or anyone was granted an opportunity to talk to Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, what would you be most interested to learn from her that she would actually tell you? What would she know? Because she did 2 interviews prior, one with CBS and one with some Scott, some UK thing. And she wants to testify. Could we learn anything from her at all? Mike.
Yes, I would ask about the specifics of financings that touched government brokering of deals, either on behalf of or in partnership with government agencies, including the U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia, France, the UK, and the like. It was in 1991, for example, when it's reported that Maxwell linked up with Ghislaine. I would take that history from 1991 to, call it 2008 or 2019 if you want to go there, and I would go basically step by step through the major financing activities, and I would, because a lot of this is private, by the way. There's 100 different transactions we know that Epstein was involved in with attempted to broker financing for, but there's a lot of these are also going to be non-public, and because they're not, this is not a traded on the NASDAQ, and so I would go through those financial transactions. I would look at U.S. State Department, basically diplomatic and intelligence ties to activity around those deals, and then I would look at basically at the CIA files around that transaction or industry, and I would do a search for Epstein or the outside financiers. Basically, if you compile that list of all the different outside financial facilitators used for activities that Epstein looked like he was involved with, then, because what you're going to have is you might not necessarily have Epstein's name. What you might have is a facilitator with access to capital in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And that might be what what you have from an analyst memo or some CIA cable in 1999, and you think it's Epstein, but you're not really sure it's Epstein when you look at the analyst memo, and then you can ask Elaine that, hey, a CIA cable that's recently been declassified refers to some retail, some apparel agreement that's going to help basically the retail sector on the island of Haiti, but actually what the CIA wants to do is they want to unionize all the garment workers in order to use them for street protests to assist the Aristide government or something like that. And it's going to be arranged through a financier based in the U.S. Virgin Islands associated with these redacted names of funds. Was Jeffrey Epstein that financier? Like these are the sorts of specific questions you would want. So you need to have that mind mapped. And I don't think that anyone in the Trump admin is even close to that because they're so fixated on the blackmail.
Allow me to introduce the leader of our delegation. She is the closest aide to the Sorcerer King Ainzul Gon, Lady Albedo.
They're so fixated on the kind of primal elements of it, they're missing out on the functional elements of why he would belong to intelligence at all.
And I'm considering to TP here. We'll see what he does. I don't think I need to again, though, but this is very strange. Usually I tell people not to hold their TP this long. But, yeah, I'm going to TP here just because I don't want him to be able to proxy. Probably should have TP'd the minions, but... I don't want him to be able to get into a proxy. A proxy...
As we were trying to make time, make sure we can get Rep Ro Khanna in, and we do have him. I'll be bringing in the representative who introduced the amendment to get all of the Epstein files and evidence published right now. So we're going to fix the echo right now. We're getting echo. It happens. All right, let's see what we got to do. We figured out what was wrong with it. That was... Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
We're getting it going. Sorry about that. We had some echo problem the other day that we had to work out. Can you see me now?
I can.
All right. Let's bring you in. Representative, thanks for joining me today. You introduced an amendment to get the Epstein files and evidence published within 30 days, and it was struck down. The first thing I want to ask you is, do you think the Trump administration is covering up Epstein's crimes?
I don't know, but like you, as you had tweeted out in February of this year, I believe that they should release the Epstein client list. They should release any of the evidence. They promised that. Trump promised that. The Attorney General promised that. Now, I just want to clarify, because you're always fair. I do not want any of the victims' identity released. I do not want any of the potential child pornography released. All of that under the amendment is covered because they, under DOJ policy, do not have to release any of that information. I made it clear I don't. And in a bill that I'm going to be introducing, a bipartisan bill soon, we're going to make that perfectly explicit that that should not be released.
So for those that aren't familiar, the amendment was voted down. It was 7-5. Republicans, I believe the Democrats voted yes to have the files and evidence released within 30 days. The Republicans voted no. Now, I don't know the
One Republican voted with us, Ralph Norman.
Right, you're correct. Apologies. You're correct. I suppose on the surface, the easy out, if you're going to look at this negatively on Republicans as a cover-up, the easy out is, well, certainly the DOJ has its policies about not releasing the child abuse materials and certain evidence that could compromise a case. But your amendment did say that any would be released. It didn't have a carve-out explaining any kind of special actions they could take. The easy argument is, well, of course you can't vote yes on that. It would compromise investigations and it would compromise the victims.
Well, our understanding from the amendment from legal counsel is that it would not have in any way interfered with the DOJ's policies of protecting victims, and the DOJ has that right. But because of that,
could be in your head. But for too long, outdated ED meds have been obsessed with your plumbing, giving no thought to the spark that